Welcome to Hero Villains. Who do you think will win when Juggernaut versus Atrocitus, the clash of two unstoppable forces? Juggernaut, whose real name is Cain Marko, is the embodiment of unstoppable power. Through the ancient Gem of Cyttorak, he is granted superhuman strength, nearly limitless stamina, and the ability to destroy anything in his path. Once Juggernaut begins moving, almost no force can stop him. His body is immune to most physical and energy-based attacks, turning him into a battlefield-crushing engine that grows more overwhelming the longer the fight lasts, through sheer brute force. Atrocitus is the leader of the Red Lantern Corps, a being fueled by the universe's most primal rage. The Red Lantern Ring amplifies his anger into devastating power, granting Atrocitus immense strength, speed, and the ability to project corrosive red energy of terrifying intensity. The greater his fury, the stronger he becomes, transforming him into a living manifestation of wrath and destruction. Before we dive deeper into the analysis, please press the subscribe button and remember to turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thank you very much. Cain Marko, known as Juggernaut, is one of the most terrifying villains ever to confront mutants. Even though he himself does not possess the mutant gene, the source of Cain's power does not come from natural evolution, but from an artifact imbued with supernatural authority. The Crimson Gem of Cyttorak chose him, turning an ordinary man into a living embodiment of destruction. From the moment he touched the gem, Cain Marko's fate was set on a path of no return. Juggernaut possesses physical strength far beyond all human limits, enough to level buildings with a single charge. His body is surrounded by a mystical force field that renders nearly all physical attacks ineffective. Once he starts moving, Juggernaut's momentum becomes a raging flood that sweeps away everything in its path and cannot be stopped by conventional means. His iconic helmet is not only a symbol, but also shields his mind from psychic assaults, leaving even the most powerful telepaths helpless. Juggernaut carries not only the power of an ancient god, but also rage, obsession, and a relentless desire to prove himself. For a long time, Juggernaut has been a name inseparable from the X-Men, sometimes as their most bitter enemy, and at other times as an uneasy ally during brutal crises. With just a single punch slammed into the ground, he can make buildings tremble and send shockwaves rippling like an earthquake. At one point, he completely erased the physical form of Primus with nothing more than a clap of his hands, a simple act carrying horrifying destructive force. That power does not reside solely in his fists, but flows through every step he takes. Cain can leap into the air with immense propulsion, and he seems almost unfamiliar with the concept of fatigue, capable of fighting continuously while maintaining the same level of strength as when he began. Even when an entire building collapses onto his body, Cain remains standing, and blows from opponents on the level of Hulk or Quicksand struggle to cause him any harm. What makes Juggernaut most terrifying is the moment he starts advancing. Once he has chosen a direction, almost no force can stop him. The ability to slow momentum used by D-Cell only delayed his steps briefly, and the efforts of Texas Twister, no matter how violent, were still insufficient to halt his advance. Cain Marko simply continues forward like an irreversible tidal wave, sweeping aside all obstacles amid the thunderous roar of absolute power. Juggernaut also possesses the ability to summon his signature armor whenever he desires. Many believe this armor is called forth from a distant dimension, as if Cain opens a mysterious gateway. However, the truth is even more astonishing, as he revealed that the armor always exists within his body, waiting to be released when needed, making Juggernaut even more distinctive and terrifying in the eyes of his enemies. The power of the Crimson Gem of Cyttorak goes far beyond offense or defense. It also grants Cain near instant wound regeneration. Even after a brutal beating inflicted by Nimrod that nearly cost him his life, he returned without showing any sign of weakness. The gem is directly bound to the soul of its chosen bearer, reconstructing their body and transforming them into the living avatar of Cyttorak. Because of this, Juggernaut is often assessed as a threat comparable to Thor in terms of raw power. To this day, Juggernaut is regarded as the embodiment of ancient might, a living engine of destruction whose every appearance brings a sense of dread and overwhelming force. His power has been ranked at an extremely high level, approaching the absolute peak. This power is directly tied to Cain Marko's role as the embodiment of destruction, where every strike carries the will to crush all opposition. With only a few punches, he has defeated the Thing, overcome Colossus, and even subdued merged Hulk through successive surprise attacks. Even Thor, when weakened, could not withstand such pressure. Juggernaut's might is further demonstrated by his ability to confront the immensely powerful Prime head-on, knock down numerous mutants with a single earth-shaking collision, and defeat the Stranger with one punch after expanding his body to colossal size. Cain once managed to restrain World War Hulk in the midst of boundless rage and fought mighty Thor on equal footing before his connection to Cyttorak was severed. He has also injured Savage Hulk, sent King Hyperion reeling even while weakened himself, and held the upper hand against Scar for a short period of time. However, when Cyttorak withdraws part of his power, Cain Marko cannot avoid defeat. In a severely diminished state, he has been defeated by opponents such as Iron Man. In contrast, when massively empowered by absorbing energy from a magical universe, Juggernaut becomes a true catastrophe. He shatters the barriers between planes of existence, tears apart the fabric of space and time, and creates fractures that spread across the universe wherever he appears. When the mystical force field surrounding him is activated, Cain Marko becomes almost a living fortress. No matter how powerful, ordinary attacks cannot penetrate that protection. In fact, even in situations where Mjolnir managed to neutralize the force field, Juggernaut remained durable enough to continue confronting Thor head-on, as if losing that layer of protection were only a minor setback. Cain's resilience is further proven by the fact that Wolverine's adamantium claws are completely unable to injure him. Juggernaut's body functions as a self-sustaining entity. He does not need to breathe, eat, or rest, and he never grows tired. Because he does not experience exhaustion, he also does not need sleep, sustained entirely by mystical energy. There was even a time when Juggernaut continued speaking and fighting while his body had been reduced to nothing but a skeleton. Even so, he is not completely invulnerable. Shatterstar's sword once inflicted a wound, but it immediately healed as if it had never existed. The demon Despair even stripped Cain of his flesh and drained his life force until only bare bones remained. Yet once his power was restored, Juggernaut regenerated his entire body and rose again as though death had never touched him. There was a moment when Juggernaut was stopped, when Thor unleashed a surge of divine energy with overwhelming power, strong enough to shake the entire battlefield. However, such situations are extremely rare. In his confrontation with War-Hulk, the balance only shifted when the mutant apocalypse intervened. He implanted celestial technology into Hulk, allowing Hulk's strength to grow at will. Thanks to that terrifying enhancement, Hulk was finally able to confront Juggernaut directly and restrain his unstoppable advance. Juggernaut is not always defeated through raw strength. Spider-Man proved that intelligence can also be a deadly weapon. By blinding Cain Marko and luring him onto freshly poured concrete at a building foundation, Spider-Man turned Juggernaut's immense power into a burden. The result was Cain sinking down and being trapped beneath hardened concrete, immobilized for many months. Juggernaut has also demonstrated astonishing control over his physical form. He has increased his size to nearly 80 feet, transforming himself into a giant that spreads terror. In other situations, such as the Tryon Saga, when facing Nightmare, Cain instead shrank his body to adapt to the circumstances. Juggernaut is a flexible and unpredictable entity who always forces his enemies to remain cautious in every situation. I sincerely hope you will subscribe to the channel. That would help us greatly, and you are truly amazing. Thank you very much. Now let us talk about Atrocitus. Atrocitus is a name forever bound to primal rage and the founder of the Red Lantern Corps. Upon his hand rests a red lantern ring. Fueled by hatred and pain, emotions ignited by a personal tragedy that can never be erased. Atrocitus' family was murdered during the massacre of Sector 666, a crime indirectly caused by the Guardians of the Universe. In that sea of blood and despair, he was one of the rare 5 survivors, carrying a hatred powerful enough to burn the entire universe. From the shattered remnants of faith, Atrocitus and the other 4 survivors formed the group known as the 5 Inversions. This group was not merely an alliance of vengeance, but the embodiment of absolute resistance against the authority of the Guardians of the Universe. Atrocitus became their leader, guiding them with the goal of eradicating all forces that served the Guardians. Through a forbidden ritual, the 5 inversions glimpsed the future and discovered the prophecy of the Blackest Night, a vision in which all life in the universe would fade away. For a time, they ruled over a vast region of space known as the Empire of Tears, where pain became law. However, a cruel fate awaited them. The Guardians of the Universe ultimately defeated the 5 inversions and imprisoned them on Yzmalt. Even while bound in chains, the fire of hatred within Atrocitus never went out. Because to him, rage was not a fleeting emotion, but the very reason for his existence. After a catastrophe that caused countless lives to vanish without a trace, Abin Sur set out to search for the last survivors. This journey led him to Yzmalt, the prison of ancient cursed demons. In desperation, Sur pleaded for their help. However, Quo, one of Atrocitus' companions, chose to speak. He revealed 3 crucial truths: the location of the survivors, the unavoidable fate of Abin Sur, and the terrifying prophecy of the Blackest Night, the moment when all life in the universe would come to an end. Abin Sur returned to Yzmalt many times, desperate to find a way to prevent the dark future. In a reckless decision, he freed Atrocitus from imprisonment, believing that the being's rage could lead the way to Earth, thought to be the origin of the black power destined to destroy the universe. But Sur underestimated the demon before him. While confined aboard the spacecraft, Atrocitus did not rely on brute force, but instead planted deep fear within the mind of the Green Lantern. That fear corrupted Sur's will, creating an opening for Atrocitus to break his chains. In the moment of chaos, Atrocitus delivered a fatal blow to Abin Sur's chest, leaving a wound that was nearly beyond saving. He then hurled himself from the disintegrating ship, falling from the upper atmosphere to Earth like a red meteor of hatred. Atrocitus set foot on Earth as a storm of blood, continuing a brutal massacre without hesitation. He easily slaughtered numerous Air Force soldiers, spreading pure terror before proclaiming an oath saturated with fury. That oath would later become the battle creed of the Red Lantern Corps, a symbol of rage that would never fade. Immediately afterward, Atrocitus performed an ancient ritual to identify the herald of the Blackest Night, a man named William Hand. With cruelty and a twisted intellect, Atrocitus created a device that functioned as a tool to detect cosmic energy. This device guided him to William Hand and later became the infamous instrument of Hand's own atrocities. Upon finding the man destined to play a key role in the coming catastrophe, Atrocitus attacked at once, intending to take his organs back to Yzmalt to complete the dark ritual. However, that plan was interrupted when Sinestro and the rookie Green Lantern Hal Jordan arrived in time and removed William Hand from danger. Atrocitus immediately counterattacked by using his device to drain the energy from their rings, leaving the 2 Green Lanterns with only their intellect and instincts to defend themselves against a master of the 5 inversions. Although Sinestro managed to restore his power through a power battery, Atrocitus still held the upper hand, steadily forcing his opponents toward despair. At the moment he was about to crush Sinestro with a blazing energy blade, Hal Jordan did something no one expected. Hal used his ring to detonate a yellow vehicle, stunning Atrocitus, who had always believed that willpower energy could not affect the color yellow. That surprise strike turned the tide of the battle. In the end, Atrocitus was defeated, captured by Sinestro, and taken to Oa. Even while imprisoned, his eyes still burned with rage, signaling that the tragedy of the Blackest Night was far from over. After Sinestro released Atrocitus back to Yzmalt, Atrocitus and the other inversions delivered a prophecy about the final uprising of Sinestro's home planet Korugar. Sinestro did not believe his words and told Atrocitus that unlike Abin Sur, he would not yield to fear. After the Sinestro Corps War, Atrocitus was believed to be the first to forge a Red Lantern power battery, drawing upon the power of rage. He declared that his first new victim would be the one who called himself the greatest Green Lantern, Sinestro, who had long abandoned the Green Lantern Corps to form a corps bearing his own name. His Red Lantern power battery required consecration with blood, and he used it to beat Qual to death. After that, Atrocitus appeared on Okaara to steal the power battery of Larfleeze. However, Hal Jordan, Carol Ferris, Sinestro, Saint Walker, Ganthet, Sade, and Indigo One rescued the 2 and stopped Atrocitus. He was then taken back to Ryut, where his rage settled into grief for a world that had been lost, After countless millennia of imprisonment, Atrocitus developed an immense rage and hatred toward his captors, the Guardians of the Universe, and their Green Lantern Corps. When he sensed the surge of rage-fueled energy radiating from Cain Marko, born from a past of abuse and torment, Atrocitus immediately viewed Juggernaut as the embodiment of uncontrolled destruction and chose to strike first in an attempt to purge him. Juggernaut responded in the way he knew best, charging straight ahead and treating Atrocitus as nothing more than an obstacle to be crushed. Atrocitus shot into the air, using his Red Lantern ring to form razor-sharp plasma blades and spewing corrosive blood to wear down his opponent. Juggernaut ignored the barrage of attacks, continuing forward with unstoppable momentum and slamming his fists into the ground, sending shockwaves rippling outward. Atrocitus evaded with agility, deliberately provoking Juggernaut to ignite his rage, hoping to turn it into a source of power for himself. Yet Cain remained cold and focused solely on bringing down the enemy before him. In their direct confrontation, Atrocitus erected a blazing red plasma cage, attempting to imprison Juggernaut and siphon his anger to weaken him. Cain shattered the cage through sheer brute force, delivering a punch that sent Atrocitus flying and left him severely injured. Refusing to yield, Atrocitus blasted plasma directly at Juggernaut's helmet in an attempt to melt it, but the mystical power of Cyttorak shielded Cain from serious harm. The two titans collided in close combat, claws and red energy crashing against hammer-like fists, each blow making space itself tremble. When Atrocitus' fury reached its peak, he summoned a massive storm of blood that engulfed the battlefield, both corroding and suffocating Juggernaut. Despite his body being heavily damaged on the surface, Cain pushed straight through the storm thanks to his immortality and inexhaustible stamina. He seized Atrocitus and slammed him into the ground repeatedly, causing the Red Lantern ring to vibrate violently. Atrocitus attempted to use blood magic to invade and dominate Juggernaut's mind, but the power of Cyttorak resisted, turning that very rage into an advantage for Cain. In the end, amid the ruins and lingering energy, Juggernaut stood firm like an unstoppable engine of destruction. Atrocitus lay defeated, his rage unable to overcome the absolute power and iron will of Cain Marko. The victor of this brutal battle was Juggernaut. I hope you enjoyed this battle. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Follow me if you like. That is today's video. Thank you very much.